philanthropic videos like giving 20,000 shoes to kids in Africa and I adopted 100 dogs. That channel gives 100% of its ad revenue, merch sales and sponsorship to charitable causes.
Okay, but let's keep the totalizer on what Jimmy is actually earning at this point, because time and again he stresses that he plows all this money back into his channel, saying money is a vehicle to do bigger videos, make better content. At the end of 2020, Forbes included him on their list of highest paid YouTube stars for the first time at number 2, Australian number 2, having made $24 million that year. So even if he's spending a large chunk of that on his content, it's pretty safe to say that at this point, Jimmy Donaldson, aka Mr. Beast, is a millionaire, age 22.
Well, let's take Mr. Beast from $1 million onto $1 billion. Like so many of our billionaires, Jimmy's first move was to diversify into the consumer market. So in 2020, he launched a company called Mr. Beast Burger as a ghost kitchen concept. You know, it allows fans to order branded meals through an app fulfilled by about 1,600 partner restaurants around the United States. So it's kind of like a modern day franchise system. He drives demand through his audience by talking about it. Other restaurants handle the production and shares in the profits. And a video of the launch event got 200 million views on his YouTube channel. You know, he's basically got his own billboard advertising system working for him here. And they sold over 1 million sandwiches in the very first couple of months. And within a year and a half, he'd made 100 million in revenue. So, you know, that's a good amount of money.
But it wasn't all plain sailing. Customers started complaining the food was disgusting, revolting. They were posting images of raw meat. And Jimmy told a fan on Twitter, the problem with Beast Burger is I can't guarantee the quality of the order. When working with other restaurants, it's impossible to control it, sadly. You could have seen that coming. Jimmy sued the company, Virtual Dining Concepts, who he partnered with to do all this. The lawsuit claimed the company has irreparably harmed his reputation. And it's interesting, for creators, they are the product, right? So their reputation is everything. So getting associated with disgusting burgers is a problem. The other company, Virtual Dining Concepts, countersued for $100 million, claiming Jimmy was trying to bully the company into a better deal. And actually, this legal battle is still ongoing, despite a judge urging them to settle.
Well, when the burgers were flaming out, Jimmy pivoted to launch something different, a chocolate bar brand called Feastables. Have you ever tried this?
I haven't, but I have seen it pop up relentlessly in his videos. They waste no opportunity to promote it.
Well, the brand has quickly become dominant, so it accounts for roughly 70% of his revenue. In its second year, it secured deals like a jersey patch with the Charlotte Hornets, a sports team. It's also actually, in comparison to Beast Burgers, gained an unusually strong fan base. Supporters have organised supermarket displays, like they've gone into supermarkets and just like put a little display of the chocolate bars themselves.
So you have an army of promoters for your brand as well with this kind of business model, don't you?
You've got a Beast army. Well, and then Jimmy expanded into Lunchly, which is a joint venture with other YouTubers, KSI and Logan Paul, which combines Feastables with their Prime drinks. I mean, as you can imagine, this product drew quite a lot of complaints.
I remember Prime drinks, because there was a period when I was going into my local shop and they were selling out of this drink called Prime, and it was very expensive.
It was so expensive.
I couldn't believe that people... I was like, why? How on earth did this happen? Because I hadn't seen any advertising for it. But I'm absolutely certain that I'm, explaining the reason now for something that I could not fathom at the time.
Yeah, it's all on YouTube being advertised to essentially kids. And, that was what the complaints were about. There were product quality issues. There were kind of criticism over the health claims. As you can imagine, like, it's a chocolate bar and an energy drink, not exactly the kind of thing that children should be consuming en masse. So, overall, there were wins and losers for Jimmy's business portfolio.
But back on YouTube, he was reigning supreme. By the end of 2021, he spent $3.5 million recreating the popular Netflix series Squid Game. And that was a massive TV phenomenon. Let's just explain for those who haven't seen that smash hit what it was about.
It was huge. So it's a Korean drama about a fictional game where people who are hard up in their luck compete for a huge cash prize, and they compete in these sort of games based on childhood games, things like
Tug of
War, for instance.
Yeah. Or Grandma's Footsteps, when you have to walk when someone's not looking, and then when it turns around, if you're still moving. But if you mess up on this game, there are deadly consequences.
Yeah, exactly. So if you lose the game, you die, and the idea is to be the last person standing. So a massive hit. And originally intended to be a critique of capitalism.
Yeah, well, interesting, isn't it? So let's get on to that, because I think that we can have that very debate right here, because Jimmy took on 456 people to be the competitors, to compete for $456,000. across the same type of games that were on Squid Games, although in this version, mercifully, people didn't die if they lost, but the video went mega viral. It currently has 900 million views. That's almost a billion. Insane numbers. And that video arguably was the thing that brought him to the attention or into the mainstream. Views across his channel doubled from the previous year, and he was now very much a celebrity. But more exposure meant more criticism.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like I said earlier, Squid Game, the television show, was about a critique of capitalism, of the kind of society that drives people to take part in such an extreme game at the expense of their lives. And a lot of people felt that Jimmy had completely missed the entire point of the original series. Mr. Beast's version turned it into an entertainment spectacle. It basically replicated the very thing that the show itself was describing.
Because it was basically a system which had left some people with nothing left to lose, and therefore would risk it all on remarkably small odds of gaining some pot of money at the end. And there was a kind of, as you say, late-stage capitalism desperation about it, which meant to be a critique, but the derivative of it was insanely popular. It wasn't people saying, oh, I see what they're doing there, that's not for me, what a terrible route we're going down as a society. It's like, yes, I want in, especially in one where I don't have to die.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me a little bit of how the original book and movie American Psycho was meant to be a searing critique of toxic masculinity and was instead adopted by the very manosphere that it probably would have critiqued itself.
Yeah, gosh, good parallel.
Still, you can argue no one died in Mr. Beast's Squid Game.
It's consensual entertainment,
exactly.
And it's a lot of laughs. Jimmy himself dismissed some of these criticisms, saying the guy who made Squid Games, the show, literally said, I like these people recreating the show. What the Squid Game creator said was a little more nuanced. He said, I think all of it is very much in line with the capitalist society that's depicted in Squid Game. I actually think it enforces it and makes the message even greater. So there you go, amplifying the original point.
Well, Squid Game cost Mr. Beast millions to make, but it's also worth noting that he subsidizes all this more expensive content with cost-efficient gaming and reaction channels, which just feature him and his mates. It's also worth noting he achieved such a big global audience, all those millions of views, because his channels are dubbed in multiple languages.
I can attest to that, because I was trying to watch some of it and I couldn't get it off the Korean translation. So it is, and when I went to change it, it was in literally dozens of languages.
Yeah, Russian, Hindi, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Arabic, Japanese. He's got a kind of global reach, and at this point, there's more money than ever being made by content creators on YouTube as more viewers and advertisers choose this platform over traditional media. So in 2022, YouTube took in nearly $30 billion in ad revenue.
Wow. That year, Jimmy earned $54 million, including $32 million from ads across the channel, $9 million from sponsored content, and for the first time, Jimmy was the top earning YouTuber. Earnings like that put him even ahead of huge social media influencers like Kim Kardashian. We've done an episode on her. More traditional names like Angelina Jolie, Billie Eilish. And Jimmy said a lot of people still see YouTubers as a subclass of influencers. They still just don't truly understand the influence a lot of creators have.
Yeah, because Jimmy is not a glitzy, glamorous Kim Kardashian guy.
No.
He just looks like a regular guy. If you didn't watch Mr. Beast content, you probably would walk past him on the street.
Yeah, you can see him at a bus stop and you wouldn't stop and look twice.
I have to say, maybe this is a little bit harsh, but he's not the most charismatic guy on YouTube. There's a lot of people who comment quite regularly on how he doesn't appear to smile with his eyes.
Yeah, it's also, but I think going back to his childhood, there is something about the sort of, the lonely introvert who's bored off his trolley and trying to find something to literally soak up the time. I think that's quite an appealing thing for some people. And we didn't play the multi-millionaire because he said he's got made 54 million in 1 year. He said, I don't have access to any of my bank accounts. I have a chief financial officer and everything, but my mum is the one who has access to the master bank account. His mum's title is actually Chief Compliance Officer, but many employees say she's effectively in charge of human resources, although a spokesperson says she's not. By 2024, he had 300 employees on his production team, plus 200 or more at Feastables, so it's certainly not a one-man band.
By this point, he'd established a holding company, Beast Industries. He remained the founder, but he brought in professional executives to help him run the company, which was expanding, building huge new content facilities in Greenville, And this is interesting. Jimmy wants his hometown to become a content creator hub. The company's then president said, the biggest parallel I could draw is to Tyler Perry in Atlanta.
Yep.
We've done him on Good Bad Billionaire, the movie producer and mogul. Jimmy's creating his own studio system here, and new producers come to Greenville. They're given housing, good salaries, 3 months to prove themselves.
It's all the way that people used to flock to the Paramount lot
Exactly.
in Hollywood. They're flocking to Greenville.
Yeah, and the producer who